All right, here we are getting ready for tonight's program. Just going to get everything all set up. This is the plate we're doing tonight, Dragonfly Dreams. Let's see what we got. Should be showing up live on here. Let's see. I always love this part where I can't find it on my other computer. For live, hello there. Why is it not showing up? Let's see, give me a second. Studio. Nope, let's see, I can't really see. All right, let's see. It's going to be here somewhere obvious. I know it is. It should be under posts, right? There we go. We're live. There it is. Okay, we're live and we're sideways. All right, well, we'll cope with that. Good to know. All right, well, welcome for tonight. Comments are on, so you can say hello if you want. This is Dragonfly Dreams. I thought hey Desiree, a pretty fun summer plate. What you'll notice about this plate is we have a new shape. This is I call this our wavy plate because, you know, it's wavy. Wasn't all that creative a title or a name. And so if you're joining us, if you're working on this now, what you're going to want to do is make sure you have your paints open. You don't have, this is, as you can tell, if you have the kit, this is way more glazes than we're used to working with. So you don't have to open them all right away, but you can. So you've got all your glazes and you've got your tool, right? This is your dotting tool that you got with your kit. And it goes all the way from tip number 1, which is the smallest tip, all the way around to tip number 8. And you can't really see it on here, but if you're looking at yours, you can see that it has the number 1, 2, etc., etc. So I'll be referring to those by their number. You also have your slightly damp paper towel, ooh, brilliant, that you'll be using to clean your tip on in between colors. And I believe that's about all you need. You have your plate on your placemat. So on your placemat is nice because then you don't have to touch your plate. As I said, I can see that, you know, you guys have this on, I'm going to be moving this around a little bit to try to get a good angle because my phone's on a little bit of a weird angle tonight. But anyway, I have a turntable because I have one. This is actually a banding wheel for pottery, so it's a little over the top for what I'm using it for, but it does the job. But you can also use the placemat that I gave you and just basically pick it up and turn your plate, because I'm a big fan of dotting from your happy side. I'm left-handed, so I prefer to always be able to dot on the left, so I'll move my plate. So I'm going to take this off of here. That was just a picture of what our finished plate's going to look like. And this is, now what you can't see here is we do have some starting lines. We've got, there probably a dot about here. Let me move this up so now I can see. Okay, dot about here in the corner. The lower, so if you're looking at the whole plate, you'll see that the corner is where we start, and there's a line in the middle and a couple of lines on the side. And that's basically all we need to get started with today's plate. So if you're ready, I'm ready. We'll get started. So we're going to actually start with our biggest tip, which we almost always do, tip number 8. And we're going to start with color A, which is the green. All right. And then basically then what we're going to do is we're going to go from our largest tip to our smallest tip. We're going to go with tip 1, the next color B, which is the white, and we're going to put dots all the way around it. All right, so we're going to start. I usually will do my first dot aligned with the line. Nothing special about that. That's just how I happen to do it. And then I'm just going to do some dots all the way around it. It does not matter how many dots. Ideally, all your dots are about the same size. That's the dream. I will often do this, which is I'll come around both sides at the same time rather than going, so that way at least it looks the same. And now that I have it finished here, I'll come back and make some of these a little bit bigger. I always like to be safe. The thing about it is you can always add more. You can't add less. So, all right. Now, I did have a little drip there. That's excellent. I'm super happy that I have a drip because then I could show you later how to clean up drips. Now, this one was like a massive drip. It actually went into the green. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Even though I don't usually do that while I'm painting. But since I'm supposed to be trying to show this to you, it kind of has to look decent. All right, so that's our starting point. Now what we're going to do is after we've dotted around, we're going to go back to the big tip, the number 8 tip. I guess I can pull that in a little bit. And I'm going to put color C dot above, going in the direction of that middle line. So I'm just going to put a nice big dot there. It's mostly going to just hang out there, so it's not a very big deal. Not something to get crazy about. And then I'm also going to then move on to color D with the same number 8 tip. And that's kind of the darker pink. And I'm going to put that on each side at the base of the line. Well, actually, it's going to not be at the base of the line. It's going to be what I would call a little bit higher. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to put them up here so you can see. I want this one to be a little rounder. Okay. If you need it to be rounder, don't try to make it round. Just come back to the middle and redot it and let a little bit more paint and let it just flow. But I just wanted this, again, I'll show it to you, just to be a little bit higher than this one. Okay? So that's our starting point. You guys can all see that. I'm going to lift it up to make sure you can see it nice and clearly. All right, so that's that one. That's how we're going to get started. Now what we're going to do is one of the things, we're going to do some dotting around on this one. This was pretty much a dot, dot, dot kind of a plate. We don't have a lot of funky shapes on it. So what we're going to do on these pink, so we're going to use tip number 1, and we're going to use the color B, the white, along the bottom half. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to take my hand away so you can see what I mean, along the line. And I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3 dots. So I'm going to put 2 on each side. 1, 2. I want to come up about halfway. And now I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So I'm using the lines is the direction that I'm going in. And as you can see, I'm going to squeeze that in and I'm not going to go off the plate. But if you end up going off the plate, that's not a problem. This one is essentially intended to go off the plate, so it's not really a big deal. So I'm doing white dots, if you will, on the bottom half, and then I'm going to go on to color D, and I'm going to use the pink dots on the top half. Okay. And come back over onto this one. So my first dot is on the line, and then I'm filling it in with 2 more dots on either on each side. All right? Yes, Jackie, I get it. All right, cool. Yes, I can play all the parts, so be careful. Then when we've done that, then what we're going to do is put a couple of other things in here. We're going to use our number 5 tip, also with the white. All right, and we're going to add a dot in this sort of space between what we've just done and the orange dot. All right, so I'm just going to put a dot here. I don't want to be too close to near that line because I'm going to be using that line in a minute. But I just want something like a little bit of eyeball-y thing going on. Now, yeah, so that's where we're going to leave that for right now. Okay? I'm just taking a look. So that's where I want to leave us for now. So now we're going to start finishing up, going around these dots. This is, if you will, our first round. We're going to keep going around and around. So we're going to use the number 1 tip again and color D, that dark pink, and I'm just going to want to have you go all the way around with dots. Now, as I said earlier, you're going to go. There's not even any mites to it. Go lightly when you redot. Whoops. This is a do as I say, not as I do night. Just so you're forewarned. I do have those. All right, I can clean this up later. I'm just going to get some of it cleaned off of here so that you can see better. All right, so nice light dots. And what you really don't want your dots to do is you don't want them to run into anything. So if you think you might run into something, it's better to stop than to run in. So for example, you're going to notice that I could be running into this white dot and I don't want to, so I'm just going to not go near it. All right, and I'm going to do the other one. Same thing. Again, I'm just going so that I get the right angle so that among other things, don't put my hand. Now this one's definitely going to go off the plate, and that's fine because that's part of the design. It's supposed to go off the plate. So any time it goes off the plate, I'm just going to come back where it rejoins the plate. Okay? And I don't touch my white dot, my big white dots. So we did the one with the dark pink. Now we're going to go all the way up to tip 3, and we're going to go to the next color, which is the lighter pink. But here's the thing. What I want you to do is actually, I'm going to call it dot lightly, because I don't want these dots to get too big too quickly. All right, so that's going to come down to that white dot. All right. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. See if anybody has any questions on this. Good so far? Good so far. Okay. We're going to do the 3 again. And we're going to go the same color. You're going to just repeat. Do the exact same thing. So start on the line and come all the way around. Now remember, it's going to look different each row because you have more plate to fill. That's okay. That's kind of the point. So I don't want you to go like, oh no, it doesn't look exactly the same. This is an overall effect. Okay? So you've got your second row of tip number 3 with the pink color. And then our last one is going to be tip number 4 going back to the white. So I always start at the top, if you will. On mine, I'm just about done with that starter line that I had put in, which is fine because this is my last row. Now, the other thing I want to point out to you, so I'm doing the middle line, and then I go dot, 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 and you'll notice my dots are getting smaller. So if I need to redip now to finish this, I'm going to go down to a size tip 2 so that my new dots are smaller and I'm not starting off with a large dot. Okay, so I don't want it to be out of whack. Okay, now I have to, add some over here on this side. Okay, so that's going to be that's what you've got to start with. That's pretty perfect. That's what we're trying to do. All right, any questions? No, good so far. Excellent. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to start working the middle line, and we're going to go back to tip number 3 we're going to use, and we're going to use the C color, that orange, and we're going to put a dot right between these two. Not too close that I'm in jeopardy of touching them, but, pretty close down. So I'm going to use my number 3, and then I'm going to jump up to number 8 with the same color, and I'm going to put it, you're going to ask me, how far is it? And I'm going to tell you it's about this far. I'm going to call that maybe 3/4 of an inch. Because then what I'm going to do, okay, is go back with tip number 3 very lightly, All right, same color, and I'm going to start at the top one, and I'm going to dot, dot, dot down to the bottom. So I'm going to go dot, dot, dot. And that's what that's going to look like. All right, so I'm going to let you guys take a look at that. That's what we wanted it to look like. And now we're going to start dotting around this the big orange dot, if you will. So we're going to use tip number 1, littlest one, and we're going to go the same color, color C. All right. And we're going to make what I always call a teardrop, and that's what I'm going to start to talk to you about now. So you're going to have an option on kind of on what shape this becomes, whether you want them rounded or teardroppy. So I did the first one. Now here's what I'm going to do with the second one. Okay, my first dot I'm going to put a little bit high, but then I'm going to come in a little closer on the other ones. And that's going to change so that my circle will look more teardroppy. All right, so I'm coming in further, closer to the row I already did. On the next round. All right, and can you see how that changed the shape? I think you can see that pretty easily, that really gave it much more of a pointed look at the top. And that's the look that I want. That's pretty much the look that you have on the photo that you're looking at. All right, so we're going to switch colors now, and tip. Ooh, it's a big moment. We're going to go up to tip number 3, and we're going to use that A, B, C, D, E. Mine are open, so I can't eat. I guess that's A, B, C, D, E, F, yellow, otherwise known as. And we're going to use tip 3, and we're going to go around it. And again, the trick is go up with it and then come in closer for all your going around dots. Okay? That's how you get the teardrop look. So I already have my middle dot. I'm not going to do, I'm just going to come in nice and close on all those other ones. Take your time so you don't run into them. Whee! Oh, I love it. Love it. Oh. Why can't I? Oh, that's me twirling. Okay. I have to be careful, make sure I stay on camera. Sorry about that. We're going to, so we did the number 3 tip with the yellow. Now we're going to do it with tip number 4. Same exact thing. Start up here and then come in nice and snug. Otherwise known as snugly. All right, I do not want to run into my white, so I'm just going to stop. It does not matter. I'm going to come in nice and close here. I'm very brave. I'm dotting on the right side. If I run out, I'm going to go down. In this case, I'm going to go down to a 2 because I do not want my dots to be too big. That's my biggest fear. Okay, I have bigger fears, but that's my biggest fear at the moment. So let's be clear. All right, and then I can come in and finish this one. All right. Nope, see, I ran 2 together right here. I'll clean that up at the end. And then our last row on this one is going to be, I know probably not a big surprise to you, tip 5 with the white. Okay, up here and then come nice and snug in. When I go, if I need more, which I do, I'm just going to use a smaller tip to finish up. I always start lightly. You can always add more. You can't add less. Anybody who paints with me is probably sick to death of hearing that, but that's the case. All right, so that's how we're going to finish that one up. Now we're going to keep on this line and this line. So just make sure you know where your middle one is on both of your outside. Let me find something better to point with because, okay, so we have this one is my middle here. That's where that line is. It's going to run, side of it's going to run right off of the plate. And this one is on this line. We're going to take tip number 8 and we're going to take back to the color A. All right, and we're going to put a dot. What's that? Jackie measuring rule. Again, I'm going to go with the 3/4 inch thing right about here above each one. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the number 3 tip and that same color, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dot, dot, dot down to the white. Okay, so tip number 3 with the green color. Dot, dot. I'm only going to fit 2 dots in there because I didn't do that on my best hand. Tried to do it on the right. I'm actually going to switch and just do my last dot with tip 1 because I really want there to be 3 dots, but I really do not want it to run in. Nope, I'm not going to. It's too risky. Too risky. Not important. All right, and now we're going to go all the way around with tip 1 and that green color. So we're going to start our around. Okay, the first one on the around, not the biggest deal in terms of the shape of it, because this shape is just forming something, to be honest, else that we can go around. So I'm not too worried about it. After this one is where you really, if you're into the teardrop shape as I am, you really want to try to maintain it. So for this one, I'm just going to focus on getting the circle of dots all the way around. I feel like tip number 1 often needs to be re-dipped because it's the smallest tip. Now this one, as I mentioned, looks like I got it all the way on there because I went right to the edge, but it's perfectly fine if you end up going over your edge. So we've got 1 row of that color. And then we're going to do a second row with tip 2 of the same color. Yes, you can see all of my, now tip 2, okay, so this is the one where you're going to come in nice and tight to your prior row to start getting that teardrop shape going. Don't worry where you go off the edge, just come back later where you would pick up. So on this one, I'm going to put it here, and then off the edge I go. Oh man, I made a huge mess, didn't I? Look at that. That's going to be a lot of fixing up for me. You guys are in luck. That'll be fun to watch. All right, so tip 2. Oops, what'd you say? Oh, hey Dawn, how are you? All right, so that was our second row of teardrops, okay, that we're doing in that same color. Now we're going to go up to tip 3, and we're going to actually move on to our next color, which is G, which is a, I don't know, it might even look a little bit yellow to you, but it's really not. It's actually a mint green. So we're going to go into that color next. So tip 3, we're going to go around. Remember, come up here and then take your, I need a better dip than that. All right, and then go nice and tight around that row. I'm going to redo it because I didn't do a very good job. Did not get a good dip. That happens sometimes. It's okay if they start to fade off toward the end. That's a look. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, I'm going to do that on both of them. I don't know if I can do that one over here. My camera doesn't really give me a ton of room to work. So I apologize. I keep trying to move it in so you make sure you guys can see. Yeah, you can see that. All right. So I'm going to come on this side. And then I'm actually going to use the same color and go up with tip 4. So very similar to the last one. So I'm going to start here. Tip 4. Nice and snug to get more of that. And then when I come over here, I only have 1 to put over here, so I'm just going to use a smaller tip because I don't want it to be too big. And then the last one in that series, as you're probably getting the hang of it now, is going to be tip number 5, and we're going to go back to color B, which is the white, and cap that off. So I'm going to put that at the top. Woo, that's a big one. I held that one down too long, and then come in nice and snug. Just going to do the next one here. Good. I compliment myself. Good job, Jackie. All right. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. Cap that one off. And then because I ran out of paint, I'm going to switch to a smaller tip. I switched to 3. Come back and redo that one to make sure I'm happy with it, which I am. All right. I'm just going to need a little bit more glaze on this one because that's my second one. So that's basically takes us up through our green flowers, if you will. And now we're going to do something funky. Okay, we're actually going to start, and I'm going to show you, as I like to call it, I want it to be higher than this one. So I'm going to start right about here. You're going to see me, I'm marking it for myself so I can remember it. I'm going to start with the blue color, which is H. I'm going to start with tip number 8, and I'm going to just put 1 dot on each of those, nice and big. That's not impressive. Sometimes different colors, they're not all glazes are the same. Some are thicker than others. We call that viscosity, don't we, Anne-Marie and April? And so if something's a little thicker or thinner, it may not make the same size dot. So I revisited my 8 because I wanted it to be the same size as like this one. And then I'm going to go down to my number 5 dot, and I'm going to make the line. I'm going to follow the line all the way down to here. So I take my time to make sure I'm straight-ish. Okay, and I'm going to kind of come and do this one, but I'm going to do this one at this angle. Make sure you can see that. Nope, pull it back here. All the way down. And then if I run out of paint, I'm just going to move to a smaller tip. Okay. I'm going to do that on both. I have to come back and do this one too. Okay. Now, of course, my hands are all filthy because my hands are always filthy. So I need to tidy up all the way over here. You can do this at the end too, but again, because I'm demoing it for you, and I have more tools, to be perfectly honest, I'm going to do it now. Okay. So let that dry. Not you. You don't have to let anything dry. All right, so what I want to show you is that I've got my 2 blue shoots going up. And I know you can figure this out. Guess what we're going to do now? Yep, you got it. You guessed right. We're going to go around those. And we're going to start with the number 1 tip. All right. And we're going to go around the top one. I'm going to do that on both stems, so to speak. Oops, ran out of paint. Glaze. It's not really paint. Call it paint, but it's really glaze. All right, and then we're going to go up to the same color, but with the number 2 tip on top of that, or above that. And remember, this is where I want to make sure I'm going up here, but then coming in nice and snug around the side. So I get that teardrop shape. Nice and snug. All right. Same thing over here. Going for the snug. Snug is a bug in a rug. You knew that was coming. Can't say snug without the whole little poem. All right, so that's our blue, our 2 blues, or 2 bright blues, I guess we'll call that, because the next color is also a blue. It's just a very pale blue. So we're going to go up to tip number 3, color I, which is the light blue, and we're going to repeat. We're going to do that with tip 3 and then again with tip 4. So I'm going to start up here, then come in tight and go around that one. Okay, I'm going to come back and make this one a little bigger. Okay, and I'm going to come do it on this one, so that's going to make me twirl. Make sure I stay in your vision. There we go. I'm just going to switch to a smaller tip. I think that's kind of a key thing that helps it really make a difference is when you come down here and you have to finish up, make sure you switch tips to a smaller tip. So your smaller dots, it's going to be brilliant, wait for it, are actually smaller. So that was the one where I started with tip 3, and now we're going to start with tip 4 and go around that one. So each one just gets a little bit bigger. We go all the way around. And I just go until I kind of run out. And then I'm going to switch to a smaller tip to finish that one up. Okay, and I'm going to go do the other one with tip 4. All right, and I'm going to check for questions. Sorry, I'm not being really good about that tonight. I have having one of those nights. But this is a very relaxing one because you're, really doing a lot of your dotting on your own. Not a lot of following Jackie, so that's probably nice for you. I know, I can hear your comments. Kind of like that thing with, what is it, like with Amazon, right? Where you might be talking about something and the next thing you know, it shows up in your feed. Thought you might like this product. No? All right, tip 5 then with the white, color B. Last one in this one, so same pattern as we've been doing. All right, this one's definitely I'm going to switch to a 3 to finish this puppy out. Nice and light though, because I feel like I have a lot on there. I do. Okay, now I'm going to do the other one. Let's see, do we show up? Yes, we do. Okay. Now only go down as far, if I'm like on this one, you'll notice I'm kind of running into the green. See if you can see where I'm pointing. Yeah, then just, this is going to be brilliant. Stop. Do not run into the green flower. If you start to get close, that's all right. If they come next to each other, just stop. Don't run into it. Leave some space, okay? My spacing isn't always even. It's a me thing. So this is, we've finished up our blues then, and now we're going to work on our yellows. And the yellow then, oh, you know what? Before I do that, we're gonna stop. We're gonna do a little bit of our. 411. That's what we just did. Okay, we're gonna do our yellow, and this is gonna be the same as we did with the blue, and we're gonna do it in between the blues. Now you may, on this design, it's, it so depends on your own, how far apart you are. The way that I've done this one, I really don't have room to put another set. If you look at the picture, I was much tighter, okay, and I have another set on the edge. I'm not going to put a set on the edge here because it's just going to make it too muddled. What I'm going to do is focus more on my yellows, and I'm going to put a yellow here, a yellow here, and a yellow here. So I'm going to do my 3 yellows, and I'm going to do that by starting with number 8 and the last color in your set there. And I'm going to put that one, I want it to be, tall. I'm going to do the middle one first. I want it to be taller than anything else, so I'm going to put it up here. Now, the side ones don't have to be exactly the same, although I do want them nice and high, so I am going to actually do them basically at about the same height. I want them above the blue. And then I'm going to go back down to tip 5 with that same color. And I'm going to dot down to where it's starting point. So I'm just going to make a straight line, or as I like to call it, a straight-ish line. If I start to run out, I'm going to go down to a smaller dot, a smaller tip. So I started with 5. Now I'm down to about a 3. No, I'm actually at a 2 if you want to know exactly. Okay? But it really depends on where you run out. Now, for this one, yeah, so we're going to start with the 5, and I'm going to do the same thing. I tend to start from the outside. I'm just going to tip. Well, I did not get enough paint on that. I'm going to come all the way down, dot, dot, all the way down. And then I'm going to do the one on the outside. Okay? And I know this is not going to be a surprise to you once we've done that one, is we're going to teardrop with the same color with the number 1 around the large dot. So that'll happen 3 times. I think this is the first one for me today that I have 3 of. I'm making sure that's still showing up. Yeah, there we go. This is where I cleaned up a mess earlier, so right now it's a little wetter, so it's a little darker. And we're going to do the same color except with tip number 2, and we're going to start our teardrop shape. So I'm going to come up a tad and then come in nice and snug. Okay, I don't think anyone has ever used the word snug more in one evening than I have. That's okay, I like it. It's a great word. It's become one of my favorite words now. Snug. I'm snug. Look how snug I am. Okay. Straight up here. The other thing is, I'm trying to think about some of these things from your perspective. If you feel like you need to correct your shape, you can always, you know, the nice thing about this is you have the opportunity to correct like at each go round. Just if you didn't feel like your last one was snug enough, then you can snug it up now. So that's our second bright yellow. Now we're going to actually use, we're just going to do 2 rounds of white. So we're going to do tip number 3 with the white and then tip number 4 with the white. So I'll just start on this one because I'm over here. Keeping it, you know, snug. Okay, now I can't stop saying it. That's funny. I need to get out more. Okay, up here, then come round. Oh, I gave you the, yeah, this is, color is J. All right, so we came back down to F color. Sorry, I was not really clear. I just realized I just said yellow before I didn't say what letter it was. Kind of came back to that color, okay. Well, nobody wants to hear me say that. Something that happened 10 minutes ago. Right now we're doing the white. Stay focused, Jack. Right up here and then come down. Nice and snug. 1, 2, 3. This one I'm going to go off, so I'm going to come just pick it up at the end. And then I'm going to go up to tip number 4 and do the same thing. And that's going to be my last one. Nice and tight, because I like this teardrop look. If you want it rounder, ignore me. Okay. Yeah, so this one ends with 2 whites. All right. And I'll come do my other one over here. Man, my hands are really dirty on this one. This one is tough to keep your hands out of what you've just painted. Sometimes what I'll do is, I don't know if you can see this over here. Let me see. Yes, you can see I have my hand over here. I actually put my dotting hand on top of my other hand for leverage to keep my hand off the plate, because otherwise I would mostly be tempted to do that on the plate. So this is what mine looks like. See, now why were no comments showing up here? Hi, Jackie. Oh, yes, I can show you the finished picture. Sorry, guys. So here you go. I don't know that this helps. So we started down here. I'll be finishing up and you'll be able to, I'll save this immediately. You can kind of go back to the beginning. So we started down in the corner and kind of branched our way out. I really only have one more step on this one. The next step I have is just to do what I call the dragonflies, which are not too dragonfly. That's the last color, K. And that's the purpley color. And basically, oh, you know what I did? I did some double dotting. That's what I did on this one. So let me get the dragonflies down so you can see that. And then we'll do the double dotting. I start with tip number 3 and the purple for the dragonflies. And basically, I just have a good old time deciding where I want to put them. All right? Mine tend to all be pointing in. All right? So like I might start here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Some are straight like this one. And then sometimes I'll do it so I'm covering a mistake I made. You can make them curved like this one. I tend to do the 5 dots. As you can see, sometimes I have them going toward each other. All right. You can just have a good old time. I know, this is my biggest... Oh, I guess where the drip is. That's where that one's going. That's how all good art forms. I definitely need something going away here, so I'm going to have one over here. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I mean, basically, you're following me. I think I want one pointing out. I definitely am leaning toward rounder ones or curvier ones tonight. I think I want one flying from a distance. But you get the basic idea of this, right? That's what those are doing. So the next thing, and you can keep going with those, I'm going to cover some of the double dots. Basically, here's what I do. And I'm just going, so all the big dots that I have, you know, those size 8 dots that are in the middle, I just use a lighter shade. So for example, on, for the green, the color A, I'm going to use the mint, all right? And I'm just going to use the number 3 tip and double dot that. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of the greens. Just put a mint G size 3 dot in there. On the orange, I'm going to go with F, which is yellow. Again, size 3. Just going to put a dot in there. And I'm also going to do one on the standalone one over here. On the purple over here, I'm going to go with E, which is the pink. The lighter pink. Oops, try not to mess it up at the end there, Jack. All right, that color. On the blue, not surprisingly, we're going to go with I, the lighter blue. You're welcome. And, oh, I missed my other oranges. No, I didn't. I have my yellows. I'm looking at my other one. On the yellow ones out here, I'm going, actually, I did that with the white. Okay, which I think you can actually see. So again, I just went with the white in the middle of the yellow. That does the job. Okay, so that's essentially, voila, the design. Now what I'm gonna do is just bring back, I don't really, oh no, I always like to show you guys how to clean up. Now, so let me see if I can find a dry spot. So yeah, I have so many mistakes here tonight. Well, here's what's important. What I want you to do when it's time to clean up is to find something with a tip on it. Oh man, those are some dirty darn fingers. Okay, something with an edge, a file. I happen to have a paintbrush. And I don't want you to rub too hard. I just want, and you really want it to be dry. So please don't be in a hurry to do this. Just draw a little line in between. Could you guys see that? I'm gonna pick this up nice and close. See if I can find it on the screen. Here's my tip. There it is. So I had these two dots were connected. I literally just made a little line, blow it if I need to. You don't have to reshape the dot, really. You just need to separate them. So I have another one over here. I'm just going to make a tiny little move. Okay, actually that one has a smudge, so I'm going to take it off. But you don't want to dig too much, because if you dig up that base coat, I can't tell until it gets fired. Okay? And if I have to refire, I can refire, but you run the risk of problems. I just like people to be aware of that. So I try not to refire. So if you find that you dug something up you wished you didn't, please let us know when you drop your plate off. I'd rather fix it before it goes in the kiln. Okay, it's a lot easier to fix. See, here's a good example of why you don't mess around with wet glaze. Okay, because that was a lot better. It would be better when it was dry. So good. I feel like a good glamour don't moment here. Here we go. Here's one. These are dry. I'm just going to make a nice light line. Ah, beautiful. Perfect. Perfect example. Exhibit A, bad. Exhibit B, perfect. Okay, so that's what you guys have. Voila. That's your plate. You can, you can goof around with it. If you wanted to add another row, I'd go back to the purple pinks if that made you happy. If I did that, you could still do, this is going to come out. Let me show you the, I don't actually have the finished plate with me. It's on display someplace. I forget where, but what was I going to tell you? Yak. I was going to tell you something. Oh, I was going to show you how dark purple the dragonflies come out. So there's a pretty big difference between that color and this color. So even if you chose to do, if you wanted to do another row up here, you could still use the purple for the dragonflies if you wanted to. Okay, and it would still look awesome. So if there aren't any more questions for today, I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have fun. Oh, no, wait. I want to show it to you. I also did this one in a lighter color, so in case you really like it or you want to redo it or do it again, I did it on an off-white background in a much more pastel-y kind of a thing and with a rounder shape. Again, just to show you how it can look different. Okay, now I'm signing off, I promise. Have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Happy dotting!